What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast. And man, we have got a show tonight. We're going to get in some nit and gritty, talking about some batteries. Because that's the worst feeling being out on the boat, and then batteries just go kaput on you and you cannot do nothing. So we have the man with the plan that knows something a little bit about some batteries. And but before we get going on there, let's handle some business. If Why don't you own the night on the water with Firefly Marine carbon fiber bow and stern light, telescoping U.S. Coast Guard approved, no glare, fewer bugs, crystal clear visibility for safe, epic adventures. See it all at Firefly Outdoor Marine and use discount code DECKTALK10 and enjoy those navigational lights and the other stuff that they have there. It is a phenomenal product with what they have going on. And, but if you don't know, guys, I am Colin Burnett.
And I'm Pappy J. What is up, my fellow Americans out there today? Hey, our salute to valor. Salute to Valor is brought to you by Waze Energy. Waze Energy is a huge supporter for our men and women in uniform, and they do a huge thing for them. Hey, go out there and grab you some Waze because old Luke and the staff over there, buddy, they got it going on. But tonight, salute to Valor. I ran into this guy the other day at the store, man, and he was telling me a little bit of Colin, and he touched my heart, and the things that the stories that he was telling me was truly awesome. But Sergeant First Class Joe Dozer, he spent 8 years in the Second Ranger Bat at Fort Lewis, Washington. He told me, he 8 years, and we didn't go into a lot of detail, but he served 10 deployments in 8 years, and some of them deployments, man, was the Ranger Bat. They got a constant rotation, and but hey, Sergeant Dozer, man, our hats goes off to you. Thank you for everything that you've done, and
Yes, sir.
anything, and everything. We appreciate it all, brother. Keep your head up high, and keep moving on, soldier. We
Thank
appreciate you.
you. We definitely do. Definitely do. So, guys, if you do not know who our guest is, this gentleman here fishes on the MLF. What is it? Tackle Warehouse Series
Yeah, pro
and
circuit. Yeah.
the Pro Circuit, correct? And but guys, this guy is one phenomenal gentleman to be able to talk to, and I got the privilege to hang out with him and chit chat. I think we talked for about an hour just at the booth at the Coleman, Alabama show, and that's how we got connected. But guys, if you do not know, this is we got Jay Striker Barnett on. And brother, man, thank you so much for coming on. It is an honor to have you on here. And man, I'm ready and stoked and ready to go for this one. What about you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for having
I
me on here. I'm super excited about being here.
Heck yeah!
Yeah.
So I want to first kind of start off. How did you get into fishing?
You know, Colin, again, you and Pappy, thanks for having me on, man. And, I get that question quite a bit, but I'm just a good old country boy here from the backside of Georgia. And actually, when I was growing up on a farm, we had a couple of ponds on there. And being in the sheltered environment a farm, farm will give you, I was able to go out there with my uncles and my cousins and my grandpa and stuff. And, you know, we got to fishing. So my uncle taught me brim fishing. And believe it or not, back then it wasn't as sophisticated today. It was basically a cane pole, some line, and,
Right.
some hooks. If you didn't have a hook, you'd use a little pin that we'd use like a diaper pin and catch some fish. I mean, just what it was. But um, but those days are the foundational blocks that I wouldn't have never thought that it'd lead to being in tournament fishing today. So, but I think about those days quite often. But that's how I got into it, living on a farm, Frank Neely Farm in Gwinnett County here in Georgia. long,
Okay.
long time ago.
Well, and the thing is, we've talked about this in like when you was a kid growing up, and doing that brim fishing and stuff like that. Did it ever cross your mind to be like, I'm going to be walking across the stage, holding up a bag of fish, and I mean, to me, just just thinking of like when I was a kid and going out with my dad and my granddaddy, and I mean, because we lived in Nashville, right on Old Hickory Lake, and I never thought that it would come down to that one that I would do tournament fishing, local tournaments, but I never really thought of like the YouTube, the podcasts, and stuff like that. I mean, the good Lord bless us and puts us in situations, and then He kind of reminds you, like, hey, this is where you came from. You got to remember. So,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but
no, that's true right there, wholeheartedly there. Um, when you not walking so close to the trees, you can see the forest. And
Mm.
when you look
right,
back on how that, you know, how the path, you traveled, you really look back on those things that actually forged you through that. And like I say, back in those days, I never would have gave it much thought back then because growing up, grandma say go catch some fish, we're going to catch fish for dinner.
yeah,
Right.
that's
it
Right.
right.
was a it was a different process, so you never
Yeah.
really thought about. But you know honing those skills, grabbing worms from the ground, it wasn't like, hey, I get to go to the store and buy you know a bunch of crankbaits. No, it wasn't that. It was just homegrown, learning how to
Mm.
fish and connecting with nature, and that's the biggest
Yeah,
things. And that was just part of it. But no, not in my wildest dream at that point in my life had I thought that, hey, this was will be a turning point where I would end up at. But I do know that I never lost that love for fishing, and it still boils heavily today in my heart. So yeah.
heck yeah.
So from your childhood
Mhm.
to today, give us one nugget that you have kept in your hip pocket that you carry around with you that has real or that you continue or I guess continue to carry around with you that's helped you along the way.
It's so many. It's so
Yeah.
many. But one that sticks out the most is, you know, protecting my, believe it or not, it's protecting my health, right?
Yes.
A wise man once said, the heart only has so many beats.
Mm,
Don't waste your beats.
come on. Yep.
And interesting enough, and that holds true. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
I want to be as efficient and effective as I can. I tell people all the time that I don't want to be used, I want to be useful.
Right.
And
right.
Right.
if I can make an impact, in life on somebody else's life, making them better, then I've accomplished my goal for me
Mm.
being one day better than I was the day before. And I think that's the biggest things. But my health has been probably one of the biggest challenges. If you don't know, I used to be 200 and almost 50 pounds before.
Mhm.
And down to like 181 is a whole
Oh,
lot
wow.
different than
Oh,
being so like I say, the heart only has so many beats, protect them. So
Yeah.
exactly.
that was definitely my takeaway of just being able to do that. And I still take that to this day.
Okay.
So
No,
thanks
we
for
Now,
asking
appreciate you
that.
for sharing that. Yeah.
now, do you think, because you are a veteran, and
Mhm.
do you think that your time that you served uh, in the military and stuff like that, that has helped you to be able to kind of stay focused on your job, to be able, and that helped you to kind of get to the situation or to the position that you're in right now?
82nd at that.
The
I had to,
82nd
yeah.
Airborne.
Yes, sir. I
Oh,
had to
well,
throw
I
that
can
out
tell
there.
you one thing, the 82nd Airborne Division. Hey, let me back up. Whenever you enter the military, they're going to break you down to the lowest common denominator, and then they're going to build you back up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think through that process of rebuilding, you
Mm-hmm.
start to continue to stack win after win after win. But there's also a whole lot of struggle and failure through those processes.
Yes, sir.
And those, now I look back on that journey, I think about those were just the building blocks that
Mm-hmm.
I needed. And if I didn't have, probably would be in a different position today. But yes, my military, the discipline, the focus, the understanding that, you know, that you may be part of a greater purpose. So
Mm-hmm.
trusting your team around you, and
Right.
those situations really kind of put you in a position where you have to understand that you need to be around people. You need to have that trust. You need to have that camaraderie. You need to be disciplined. So when you're around other people that's thinking the same way, it's a whole lot easier to carry those loads, because you're trying to do it by yourself. It's just
Yeah.
very, very difficult. And I say that to really segue into a point that, as veterans, you know, and said to every veteran that's tuning in, you're not alone. Reach
Yeah.
out, talk to us.
Yes.
We've all been there. you know, by all means, you know, you're not alone. We need you.
No.
Definitely let us know. And I'm all for that. Helping veterans is one of the initiatives I do, helping our heroes, Leos, and vets,
Mm-hmm.
get out there on the
Heck yeah.
water. So, but military has been a major driver into, I can link back every success I had and how I came through those
Mm-hmm.
failures in the process. I can link it back to the military of not giving up,
Right.
so.
Now
Now.
going back, now
Mhm.
was I know as a young guy, for me, I was always fascinated with the military. I always wanted to join. I always wanted to get involved. Was that something that was on your mind as a young man, or did you just said, "Hey, I'm jumping in"?
Well, I started, I guess, thinking about the military shortly, just about when I was getting ready to finish high school. And
Mm-hmm.
in fact, I was on my own really, really early in life. At 16, I was on my own. So
Right.
me just trying to stay in high school was a challenge, because, you're having
Right.
to, you know, live your life. And so I did, struggle a bit there. And all those moments of, you know, struggle really played a role. And I said, okay, let me consider what my options were, and military
Mm-hmm.
was one of them. But my dad served in the military, my grandfather served in the military, and I was
Oh
talking to
wow.
my dad about going, and he said, son, if you're going to go to the military, I want you to to get in the fight. I said, okay. He said, that's why I want you. If you're gonna go in all the way, be all you can be, and do all you can do. And it really helped my dad, a great deal. And it done the same thing for me. And I would highly, you know, give anybody that's deciding to go in the military. That's a very valid career. And luckily for me, when I got in the military, I found a family. I found a
Yeah.
home. I found a
Yeah.
Right.
place that, stability. I found structure. You know,
Yeah.
so that was definitely kind of the thing that really gave birth to everything that I, see today. So absolutely, that is definitely a major, a major part of me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As I got two nephews, and
Hmm.
my son, but my nephew, the oldest nephew, he came to me and he was like, Uncle Josh, he said, I'm thinking about joining the military, and and I'm like, heck yeah, dude. I said, there's nothing wrong with it. Get in there and make a name for yourself. And then it was the same way with my other nephew. He came to me, and it's something. It feels good because they came to me, and knowing that I've got that relationship with all my nephews and everything, and and they came to me and was talking to me about it. Then when my son came to me, it was like, oh wow, it was very gratifying, and I loved it. I still love the military. I love my country, and would do it again if I was of age. But anyways, but I will say this: it has helped me and it has turned me into the person that I am today. And I can apply that to the outdoors, which is awesome. It keeps
Hmm.
me disciplined, it keeps me focused, and it takes my mind off a lot of things. And um, and we have a lot of programs out there. And I'm just going to plug this in real quick. We have a lot of programs out there that a lot of people that do for the veterans. You know, that will help a veteran out and take them fishing and just take them and love on them for the day. And
Hmm.
man, I could sit here and talk about this all day. But anyways, it's very humbling, very humbling where our country has come from Vietnam, because from when them guys came back from Vietnam, they didn't get the same treatment.
No.
And I'm sure your dad was there as well.
Yep.
He didn't get the same treatment that you and I got, or the other veterans, that served in Iraq and
Right.
Afghanistan and everywhere else. But that's where my heart's at. It's just our
Right.
our veterans. But anyhow, enough of that. So your favorite technique to fish?
My favorite technique for catching fish, or just my favorite technique in all? What you?
Well,
Is it two different things?
yeah.
If I had it my way, I'd stick my net in the water and grab the fish.
Nah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. But um, when I'm out bass fishing, I guess over time, and I think this is probably true with most anglers, that you'll get used to things that just naturally fit with what you like catching, fish on. And for me, if I was partial to, when I say multi-hook baits, which would be crankbaits, top water, spook, stuff like that, crankbaits, or single hook baits, which your jigs, your worms, and stuff like that. I would say I'm kind of a hybrid between the two. I like
Hmm.
them both. I like, if I can throw a jig all day, I'll throw a jig all day.
Hmm.
But if I can crank all day, I'll crank all day. But those are
Hmm.
probably my two favorite techniques. You know, if I you ask me to throw a slow presentation, I'm probably gonna pick up a jig.
Yeah.
It's just nothing like you know a jig fish catch, and
Oh yeah.
same thing with cranking. Ain't nothing like me cranking areas and being able to cover a lot of water, and you just never know when that next bite gonna happen. So those are my two favorite techniques when it comes
Right.
to fishing.
Well, I would say mine would be for sure be. I do like to throw a crankbait, but I'm very
Mhm.
stubborn, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But a spinner bait, I love throwing a spinner bait.
Okay.
Um, in a Texas rig. So last week we were out on Lake Colin, and I was out on lake fishing, and it started out kind of slow. I mean, we had some swats and some hits and misses and stuff like that with spinner bait, and well, I think our first two fish came off a Texas rig, and I thought
Yeah.
we was
Mm.
fishing certain, what I think, docks and blowdowns and stuff like,
Blowdowns. Yeah.
yeah, and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, then, Colin, well, he had kind of been throwing his crankbait all day long, but we wasn't in the right area. Then we got around some shell bed, or not bed, but the shell
Hmm.
Yeah.
bottoms,
Shell bed.
shell bed bottoms, and he absolutely wore me out with that crankbait. And I knew, and he kept telling me,
My man.
Pappy, you got to pick up, you got to start throwing a crankbait. And I said, I'm not throwing it. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna catch. I'm gonna fish what I want to fish, and that's the Texas rig and spinner bait. But I tell you what, we
Right.
had a great day, and he wore me out. I will say, he wore me out on that crankbait.
Well,
Right.
as they
It's
say, hey, sometimes you the dog and sometimes you the fire hydrant.
You
I,
got that right.
So,
I, and
uh,
I'll say this,
um,
Jake. He was barking pretty big when he was up 2-0 on me with that
I
going on.
was.
He
I
he was
was.
barking. But then when I turned him into the professional net man, and that's when it
Yeah,
kind of tucked tail.
yeah, yeah. But
So
hey, I didn't drop that Texas rig or that spinner bait. And
he
I
did
mean,
not. He
I
did
was
not.
stubborn about it. I was stubborn about it. But hey, we had a good time. But we got a comment that said from Joe Dozer, our honor, our salute to valor. He said, I started thinking about it and he signed up on the same day. He said, my uncle was in the first Ranger bat and said I was too big of a XXXX to do it. So I did it. Best decision of my life. Thank you for your service.
Right.
He's talking about you,
Yeah,
Jay. So thank you, Joe. I mean, dude, we really appreciate you, man. We really do appreciate you.
Nice.
for sure.
You tell him tell him I totally understand down there in that ranger school I went through. Trust me, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, right, right,
Yes, I do.
right,
I
right.
do. So thank him for his service too. Trust
Yeah.
me.
So um, now, Jade, with you being from like the Atlanta area,
Hmm.
and when you have, I mean, right there at your doorsteps, I mean, you've got some pretty good lakes, especially some lakes if you want to go catch some monster spotted bass. But
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
if you would you say that you prefer like more of like a highland reservoir, or do you prefer like a river system? And which one would fit if you had like the perfect day to be scenario to go fishing? What would you pick? Would you pick a highland reservoir or a river system?
Well, that for me, I can say just in Georgia, where I'm close to, I would definitely go with a Highland Reservoir.
Yeah,
Definitely be your Lake Lanier's, your Oconee, Sinclair, those areas where literally I can dial in my patterns a little bit more without so much fluctuations. I do like the big river systems, but
right,
not so much as I can fish the Savannah River system or the Coosa River chain or over in Alabama, and I like those, but you have to really play the current really well. But in the Highland reservoirs, you can really get in there and kind of pattern a lot easier and be able to catch some fish and some mega spots, especially up at Lake Lanier. There are
I,
some spots that'll pull your whole hook straight if you ain't, got the right
you
setup.
ain't joking.
Oh,
Yeah.
You
keep on
ain't
talking.
joking.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, for me, I grew up in Nashville and grew up on Old Hickory Lake, which is part of the Cumberland River, and then moved to Chattanooga, and then we've got the Tennessee River, and we fish primarily like Nickajack and Chickamauga,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm more, I guess you'd say more of a river rat than I would,
Mm-hmm.
because and I don't know what it and well, I do know what it is. It's because I just don't spend as much time on a highland reservoir,
Hmm.
because anything that's deep clear water, I might as well just be throwing a line out without a hook on that sucker, because I'm telling you, it seems like I get my rear ended handed to me more times when I go to like a highland reservoir than if I
Right.
was just to stick to my roots and just go. But I will say this: if anybody's in like has a chance to fish any kind of Georgia lake, Georgia has some hidden gems that you can go to that has some monster bass in it, and
Hmm.
people, they overlook it because it may just be some little pothole little lake, but that they have some monsters in them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes, they do. And I've caught plenty of monsters in them, what I call small waters.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are
Yep.
the hidden
Mm-hmm.
gems, those small waters, and Georgia has a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I can promise you there's some big fish in there. Probably some records in there. People just don't
Well,
know it.
this
And I've been in some.
uh, what was it? The at one point, what the world record was caught actually in Georgia,
Hmm.
around Perry, wasn't it?
Yep. Yep.
And
I want
so
to see. Yep. Well, George, I think it's George Perry was actually the one that the world record down there. I want
yeah,
to think that was. Uh, I forgot the 20 something pounds. I think it was
yeah,
the world record.
yeah, and
Hmm.
it's crazy. And I'll tell you this, Jay, we've got a lake that we call Lake X. I don't want to say the name of the lake,
Lake
but
X.
yeah, but uh, it's about halfway between you and me, and I'll just say that.
Okay.
And um, we need to get you out on the boat, and we need to go to Lake X.
Okay.
My best three fish bag was over 22 pounds,
Three
and
fish.
three fish.
Wow.
And I lost one that went 10 plus. Well, I won't go into details because my dad gives me a hard time every time I tell him that he went to go net it, and all you hear is a ching off a blade bait, and then the blade bait comes flying, and the fish just keeps on going down. So
Oh
I won't
no.
tell you how that happened, but yeah, my best three fish limit was over 22 pounds on this lake,
Jesus.
and I've gone back there and I've caught plenty of eights and nines and stuff off of it. So,
Yep. You can
but
sign me up for that trip any day.
Yeah, Jay.
yeah,
Yeah, Jay, you're right. Angler George W. Perry, 22 pounds, 4 ounces on Montgomery Lake in Jacksonville, Georgia,
yep.
Yep.
So
is the he fish measured at 32 and a half inches in length and 28 and a half inches in girth. Good grief.
golly.
Like I
That's a
say.
monster, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I
That
couldn't
is an
imagine.
absolute monster.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to talk to you about batteries,
Okay.
and because I enjoyed talking to you, like when I the first time that I ran into you and was talking to you, to talking to you about the batteries, um, and so I want to talk why did you choose the LiTime over any other batteries, and how have they benefited you, especially I mean because doing the pro circuit and stuff like that, I mean
Hmm.
it's very strenuous on batteries period because it's constant. I mean you're constantly going, and if it's the trolling motors or your units are running or cranking up and stuff, your batteries in a day's time, I mean, takes a toll. So why was it that
Hmm.
why did you pick those batteries, and with them being lithium batteries, why was it what made you kind of direct in that direction?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try to unpack those for you. Actually, how I ended up with lead time
Lead time.
was
I'm sorry.
with lead time. You people call it's actually lit time, but lead time. How I ended up with lead time batteries was actually I own a golf cart, and
Really?
my golf cart had six lead acid batteries in it,
Right.
and I had just bought those batteries, and all of a sudden, within about 8 months, my cart wouldn't even pull up a hill. So I called the location and told them about my problem, and they said, "Well, that's your problem now." I
Oh
said,
wow.
"Thank you very much." So I said, "Okay." I got online and was looking. Actually, I was online just looking for a battery for the golf cart, and I found one. And I said, "I'm gonna try this lithium battery." So I done some research on how the conversion part work. How would I
Right.
put a lithium inside that? So wasn't that hard. Basic. Put a step down in there. It was really cool. And I took out 360 pounds of batteries for one 34-pound battery.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
you want to talk about amazing. My golf cart, I got in the first time, it popped a wheelie. I said, okay, we good. So that right there was how. And I said, if I ever get an opportunity, well, when I ordered the battery, it was on my doorstep within 3 days. And I was like, wow. came well packaged, came all squared away. And I'm not just plugging lead time because I'm sponsored by. I'm just telling you this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Um, Everything I had with the battery had the instructions, everything with it, and so I put it in there. Great results. Didn't have any issues. Charged them up. I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Just one battery, and that took care of all that. It was 36-volt, 60 amp battery. Trust me, and it's running just fine still to this day. But when I the next month or two, ICAST, which is a show in Florida, one of the biggest shows, I was going to ICAST that year, and I always said to myself, if I ever meet lead time, I'm gonna let them know what type of change they made with my
Right.
batteries. Sure enough, they happened to be sponsoring the ICAST show that year.
Mm.
And I said, when I
Perfect
get over
timing.
there, I'm gonna talk to him. And we actually started talking, and that's how we ended up, entering into a relationship and a partnership with Lead Time.
Heck
But
yeah.
that's my initial, situation with Lead Time. It was actually with my golf cart, and then I done some more research. I found out they do marine, they do RV, they do solar, different things that I didn't even know they had the applications for, but I was happy to find out they did marine, and then
Right.
we um we went from there. So yeah, that's how I actually got with lead time. But why I chose
Heck
them,
yeah.
I was able to find a great price and then really put it through the test of great quality.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I found out. Now we have that, the mix between having a great product and also having affordability, and that's always a challenge to meet with any product. And lead time was able to meet that bill, and so it was a easy pick for me. Once I experienced it with my golf cars, it was easy for me to go to my RV, to my boat, to my overland vehicle. Everything has lead time in it, and I hadn't had an issue at all. So
Well,
that's
that's
Oh,
that's
heck
awesome.
kind of
yeah.
my story.
Well, see, and the first time, and I think I told you
Mhm.
that first time that we were able to chit chat,
Yep.
like the first time that I had ever seen it was like on TikTok, and um,
Right.
and so, and I was surprised, like really the affordability for those batteries
Hmm.
was by far.
Right.
But I didn't. But you and I and this is me just being honest with you. I
Hmm.
was looking into actually like to getting uh, new batteries for the boat, but there's you see stuff on TikTok and you're like, does it really work like how it's supposed to work and stuff like that? In which unfortunately I had already had purchased some batteries by the time I talked to you about it. And so but I mean the affordability on those have been is one thing that just kind of floored me because I'm like, how could something that is that affordable be as good as what they're saying that it is, right? Because
Right.
I'm over here and you've got, let's just say, like Dakota Lithium or Ionic, and they're like 2.5 times more than what lead time is, and I'm over here like, now does this really does this really do what the job is, or am I going to be stranded out? And so,
Right.
but
Right.
but with talking to you about it, I mean, it kind of so I was like, all right, now if my brother Jay's over here telling me that this is what it's going to do, then all right, I trust him on it, and so it is something, and that was one reason why I wanted you to come on because
Hmm.
I mean everybody, if you have a boat, I mean if you have a battery that lasts a year and a half, 2 years, you've done something right, especially if you fish as much as what we do,
Right.
then. But then switching to lithium batteries, I wanted you to come on to have the platform to be able to talk about it. I mean, because it is a good product, and so uh, I I tell you the next if when I have to get new batteries, that's the route that I'm going, and so
Well, I can honestly tell you that as a tournament angler, as much as we are, and we're tough on our equipment. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
We demand out of our from our rods, our reels, down to our hooks, to our line, to our boats, our equipment, and we're out keeping the roads warm up and down the highways. So dependability is what's going to give you a peace of mind when you're fishing. And it's just what
Exactly.
it is. And I can't have 1 ounce of doubt. Any type of ounce of doubt is going to affect your ability to perform at the highest level. So if you're thinking, and I run 5 Lowrance HDS Pro Graphs 12-inch on my boat. 3 up front, 2 on the console, running my Ghost trolling motor, a Turret, of course, you know, having that much drawing power, running your live wells and everything all day. Now, what I run for my outboard and my electronics is I run two 12-volt, 140 amp LiTime lithium batteries,
Right.
and I run those in parallel. And they provide me, that's 280, amp
Right.
amp hours that I can. I mean, I never worry about having a power drop or any one of my 5 graphs, and I have them all doing different things at the same time, and
Right.
it totally. I never have any loss in power or anything like that. When I put them through the paces and started doing everything with my lead time batteries, and they told me, they said, Jay, we want you to put them through everything that you would put them through, and then report back to us and tell us what we can do better. And that I really appreciated that. It wasn't a hey, we're
Yeah.
going to run from any problems. No, we want to know because our engineers work night and day trying to figure it out. So man, I put him through the test. I drug. I kept my trolling motor on high. Tried to run from the takeoff ramp to the dam just on my trolling motor on high, trying to figure out how I can kill this thing. You know, and it's been a blessing. Now I, I crank my outboard with it. I run all my electronics. I run everything on my batteries. Now for my trolling motor setup, I run two 36 lithium batteries in parallel. So that's
Right.
giving me 100 amp hours, 36 volts. I can run that trolling motor and current and just, power is
Hammer
not
down.
an option when it comes to lead time. Like I say,
Right.
affordability and price is just
Yeah.
astronomical. And I get the question all the time when I'm doing shows, Colin. I get the question all the time: why are they so inexpensive? And I always say the deal. I say one thing is that we build everything in house. Everything comes in house. They start at one end of the factory as a shell, and come out the other end as a battery. There's nothing that's come from any other third party or anything like that. And like I
Yeah.
said, I never talk bad about any of our competitions. I
Yeah.
absolutely understand that there's other choices to be had in the lithium space. We just thank
Right.
everybody for making Lead Time the number one selling battery online. We just love that. So we appreciate it, and we talk
Yeah.
a lot to our competition, and like I say, we have no problem in showing everything we do. Matter of fact, we have a clear battery that you can see all the components in it at our shows, and we have no problem showing what we're doing. Got any proprietary? We're not hiding anything, but we build everything in house from our
Yeah.
BMS, you know, to the whole shell to all the battery, and put it in the best product that we can put out. So that's why I like
Heck yeah.
Lead Time. They have been a solid spot for us. So
Heck yeah. I mean, because there's not a worse feeling. You
no.
work all day, to you're fishing a tournament. You're working all day to be able to get the best bag that you can have, and then you're like, all right, I've got 20 minutes to get back, and you're 5 miles up the river or across the lake or whatever, and you go to crank that big motor, and all it does is just whoa. There's no no worse feeling, because then you're like, you had dreams of being in that money and cashing a check, and that little wah, it just cost you. a lot. So you might as well have
Mhm.
something that is very dependable in the
Mm-hmm.
boat to be able uh, to to get you to where you need to do. And I mean, and again, from what I'm just talking to you and stuff like that, is you've changed my mind on it for sure. So
Well, I can tell you, I mean, and one thing I won't do, and all my sponsors know, is I'm gonna tell the truth, the good, bad, the ugly. It's just the way it is, and you
yeah,
know, that's how I can be honest. But I can honestly tell you that Lead Time has been a power, not just a powerhouse, but a power source for me through thick and thin. Now I've had everything else break, but it hadn't been my batteries. I can promise you that. It's not been my rods, my lower unit, my prop, my trolling motor, prop. I mean things, but no batteries. No, still doing its thing. And I like, there's when you switch from lead acid to lithium, I try to tell folks there's several things you need to kind of keep in mind. One, the weight difference. You're going to see a
yeah,
drastic weight difference when you pull your 4 or 5 batteries out of the back and replace them with lithium batteries. And you have to
right,
accommodate for that. One of the things I do in my boat is I make sure when I start a tournament, I fill both my live wells up. I
Mm-hmm.
still want some weight balance back there because I know I'm, you know, 200 pounds lighter than what I was when I had lead acid. So that's always something that you always want to kind of make sure you have a strong balance on. But
right,
the benefits of that is, no drop in your power source, no running out of, juice, like you say, not getting stranded. You got longer run times. And believe it or not, I only charge my batteries maybe once every 3 outings
Oh
because
really,
wow.
lithium has a sweet spot, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found out is that as long as I'm wearing somewhere in between the 40 and 60%, and when I get out the water, I'm good because my outboard is actually charging my cranking batteries anyway. So
right,
by the time I get back, especially a long run, say you're running from, you know, Seminole all the way up, or you follow or Gunnersville or somewhere, a long run. We just left stop 3 over in Wheeler. Wheeler,
yeah,
one end is Gunnersville and the other end is Wilson. That's a long run, but by the time you get there, I take off at 40%. By the time I get to Gunnersville Dam, you know, I'm at 60%. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You
yeah.
know, so you can really manage your lithium power, I think, a lot better than guessing. And
Yeah.
So
then you
does
got the
it?
app. Mhm.
Right, I was about to say. So do they have an app to where you can keep track on it and stuff as well?
Yes, yes,
So
they do
and
have the
that's
the they do have
go
the
ahead.
lead time app. You can use the lead time app, and it's a really good tracking app. It tells you about your balancing, about your BMS system, voltage, everything. It tells you when you're charging, when you're not. You can actually turn the batteries off, turn them on. So if I'm, charging my batteries and I got an imbalance issue, I can turn one of them off and I can make sure the other ones are charging. So it really helps a lot to be able to manage your lithium power source. And that's,
Yeah,
one of the biggest things I tell folks. Manage your power sources, not less. It's not like when we just get off the water with lead acid, plug them up and forget about them. You really want
Mm-hmm.
to, manage them. If you don't need to charge them, why put them through another cycle when they're still good all day? So
Yeah.
yeah,
really makes a lot of sense to use them.
heck yeah. So that to me, I mean, that's just one thing, and and I think that it's an option definitely that people need to look into, and if they have any questions, uh, Jay's links to his social media and stuff. I'll put them in the description and stuff. So if you have any questions about it, just go to the links. Well, first off, go to the links and follow him and see what he's doing because
Uh,
he's always got something going on. He's a man. I tell him a man of many different hats, and but just and if you have any questions, it's I mean I'm sure that he would not mind if you just reach out and say, hey, what about I got a question about this and. But go and follow him and look at his social media and keep track of what he's doing. But I got a question, Jay. Has there been, and kind of going back on the fishing aspect,
Right.
um, has there been a lake that has had your number every time that you've gone to
Boy, there's several of them got my numbers, and I'm still trying to get them back. Several of them got my numbers. That so I would say Seminole has always been a challenge for me. It's
Right.
just somehow I can't crack that code quite there yet. And Okeechobee, I would say, although it's a big lake, fish is really small, and it's you have to cover a lot of water on that lake. And I think
Yeah.
and there's probably several other ones, Kiwi in South Carolina, Rayburn out in Texas. There's different ones that you travel and go to, and every time you go, you think, man, this is gonna be the time. This
This
is
is
gonna
gonna
be
be
the
it.
time, and
This is it.
you all set up, you're doing extra work on it, and you just, man, some days it'll tease you, it'll give you that little, hey, you're trying to figure this out, you're good to go, and the next day you think you're on them, you go out there and you're zero. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fishing is
You.
very humbling, and some of those lakes out there, no matter how good you think you are, yeah,
Yeah. It
they
puts you
have a
in your place real quick,
yeah,
doesn't
yes,
it?
yes, they will. A lot of people ask me, they say, "You a professional angler?" I say, "Only one that's professional are the fish.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're the
You're
only
right.
ones that are professional. We just call ourselves professional because they can't talk. So they are the professionals.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So, what has been with all the pro circuit and stuff like that? Where has
Mhm.
been your favorite place to go and fish?
Well, this particular year, and I'm gonna kind of go back to how I ended up even getting with the pro circuit this year. Um,
Right.
I took a hiatus off for a while I was going through school, and I just fished BFLs locally.
Hmm.
When I did finish school, I said, okay, it's time to go back to the level I want to be at. But coming back, I've taken a while off. The game has changed a lot with all of the new technology, new rules, new everything. I mean, I was still fishing, but literally the game has changed, and a lot of new faces, and a lot of new places, and a lot of new things that has happened in the sport. So, but given that and going to, different levels and fishing at the BFL, Tackle Warehouse, and all those other places, and Toyota Series, and you get to thinking that this is just part of the growth process, right?
All right.
You're gonna go through those stages, and I was talking to Gary Klein the other day. I don't know if you guys know who Gary Klein is, or
Hmm.
Bobby Lane or those guys, but I'm pretty sure you do. I'm only messing with you, but and we was talking about the
We've heard of
levels.
them once or twice.
You heard
Yeah.
of a few times, but we
Yeah.
Yeah.
just talking about the levels of progression in this sport that you're gonna go through, and you're gonna have those moments of setback, or and set up. But um, okay, I probably don't lost where your question was going, so repeat the question while I'm kind of trying to figure it out. But what was you saying again, Colin, about specifically, so I can make sure I cover it? I don't want to leave the
I
fans not knowing.
well,
Well, I got
go
I
ahead.
got one. I got one. What's been or has, and I'm fixing to open the can of worms.
Okay.
Had how challenging of has the forward facing sonar been for you?
For me, not it ain't been a challenge for me, but I think in the way our format is, they only allow us to use it 3 hours a day.
Right.
I think that's probably the more a strategic challenge, because you got
Hmm.
to pick those 3 hours you're going to use.
Right.
And it may not necessarily work in your favor. If I pick 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the middle of the day, or 3 hours in the afternoon,
Hmm.
it really got to come down to what you like to do. But trouble for me has not been a trouble. I'm always been a learning curve. Now, am I good at some of these guys that just they you know been using
Thousands
it
of
since they was
hours. Yeah.
on the bottom? That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
That's definitely. But here's what I do see about forward facing sonar. It's a tool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I can pump you full of steroids. You still got to hit the ball. You
Right.
know,
Right.
it doesn't make a. It's another tool in the arsenal. Will it always
Hmm.
help you catch fish? Not always. Will it, put you around fish? Maybe.
Hmm.
But we're just looking at information on the screen, and
Yeah.
you can spend an hour throwing at trash fish and don't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are not dialed in on what you know, what's a good fish and what's not a good fish, so you'll be able to use that information. But our young guns nowadays are just so quick with that information, and they know how to apply it really quick. And you see them out there, they zigzagging and doing that. But I know if I don't have the technology, I'm going to be getting beat by the technology. It's the bottom
Yeah.
Hmm.
line. And so my job is not to complain about it. My job is to make sure I'm sharpening my tools and I have the
Right.
tools in my toolbox to be the best I can be. Because at the end
Right.
of the day, I'm going to be measuring myself. Did I do all I could do at the end of the day? And if I don't have all the things I need, then I'm only putting myself at a disadvantage. So, but I think forward
Yeah.
facing sonar is not the problem. I think is not watching forward facing sonar, but really focusing on watching my habits. The things I used to
Hmm.
do, I have to now change them and do things different. So I
Right.
have to create new habits around the forward facing sonar. But it's just another tool. You know,
Yeah.
you're not going to catch fish with it all day. I've seen people all day. You can have all those things you want to, but you still got to connect with those fish, and they got
You're
to
right.
be, that's just the bottom line with it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think forward facing sonar is going anywhere. I honestly
No.
don't think it
I
is. I
I
think it's a
totally
tool that's going
agree.
to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because technology is going to be, I mean, just going to keep on improving,
Yep.
and which we've said this multiple times on the podcast. That when the side scan came out, they were saying the exact same thing. That's cheating. That's
Hmm.
cheating, and now it comes standard in any kind of depth finder that you
Yep.
can go out there and buy. It comes with it. And so it's really going to be interesting to see kind of like what what's going to the technology, what is going to happen in
What's
5 years,
next? Yeah.
Hmm.
10 years,
What's
right?
next?
Yep.
And just like what you said, Jay, just because you have it on the boat, them fish ain't jumping in the boat just because you
Right.
put it.
And
I
we
know.
know
So
we know that firsthand.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm over
I
here
think.
even whistling and calling. Come on.
Oh yeah, I think it's like with any tool when it comes out, and
Yeah,
we can look back on. I honestly believe there's different classes of fish. You know, the new school fish hadn't seen the old baits I got in my tackle box, so
yeah,
I can fool them. But I believe that these fish will start getting acclimated to those sounds, the technology, the constant bombardment of throwing. I can throw on a set of fish, somebody else will come right back behind me and find those set of fish, throw right on them too. So they're constantly getting, I believe, accustomed to what they're
yeah,
seeing and what they're hearing. So
Hmm.
soon, I believe forward facing sonar will continue to play a role, but how the fish react to it will constantly evolve. It's like the Alabama rig when it came out.
yeah,
It's just going to be something that is going to evolve. Yeah, you might catch a few new class fish with new technology, but you know the old schoolers out there, those 7 and 8 pounders, you got to be able to
yeah. You
skip
got
a
to coax
jig
them into yeah. You got to
and do
coax
some
them
things
into
that's
it.
gonna work. But
Uh,
I mean, it's all part of it though. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Bobby Lane,
yeah.
and I want to know: have you ever seen anybody that has a harder hook set than Bobby or Chris Lane? Now, them two
Um,
boys, they put a hammer down on a hook set.
Yes, yes, they do. Matter of fact, Santee Cooper wasn't too far from one of the Lane brothers, And yeah, they set the hook. You can feel the wave. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you. But I'm gonna tell you, you can't meet better ambassadors for this sport
No.
than the lane crew. I mean, you just can't do it. Those
No.
guys are jam up and tight, and
Even Kyle, I mean,
oh yeah,
Kyle's right fits
absolutely.
right on in there with them, and
Oh,
so
absolutely, hands down. And every meeting we go to, and they're at the meetings that we're in, and those guys are the nicest guys. And I remember when I was, just kicking off, they had a Foodland Bass tournament. I think I'm trying to remember which one did it, either Chris or Bobby. And me and my buddy Patrick went over there to fish the Foodland Bass. I think it was probably one of their very first tournaments. But man, it couldn't have been a nicer, you know, opportunity that I had to be able to fish with some, really, really great guys and be able to support them. So, and I look at it, I'm just as humble as I can be because a lot of the guys I get to fish around now, the same guys I read about in the magazine, the same guys I grew up, thinking about. And just a couple of weeks ago, I know you've probably seen the pictures running around the internet. I was, with, Kevin Van Dam, Johnny Morris, all those guys, Steve and
yeah.
Luke Bryan. And man, you want to talk about just being around your idols. I was more excited about Bill Dance than anybody because he's the one I've been watching my entire life.
Right,
And
Yeah.
right,
just
yeah.
a jam up guy. But that's what makes this sport what it is. It's the
Mhm,
Yeah.
people. The fish
mhm.
gonna be what they are,
Yeah.
but the people is really what makes this sport truly special. And those lane guys, I'm gonna tell you, the lane team,
Yeah.
they solid. I can really appreciate their
Well,
I
contributions
I
to the
tell you,
sport.
I tell you what, Jay, we had Bill Dance on the podcast. Well,
Nice.
it's been several months ago back.
it was our
Eh,
Christmas episode.
Yeah, it was our
Hmm.
Christmas episode, and I think we literally asked him three questions, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, and
We had we had a
just
time
how,
limit,
yeah,
Right.
and so like we had like usually we have like 10 questions and stuff because we know that we may get to 6 or 7,
yeah,
but we know
Right.
that we're not. But and so we prepare stuff for the podcast, and we asked 2 questions, and because we had like a little time limit. I mean, we only had like an hour and 20 minutes the max that
yeah.
because he had other obligations,
Right.
and we're sitting at question number 2, and we're 48 minutes in, and so I had to stop him, and I said, Bill, I said, we we're gonna have to get you to come back. I said, because we got other questions, and I said we at least got 2 more that we need to ask you, and out of those 2 more that we had, we were only able to ask one.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, the thing, and you hit the nail on the head, Jay. When there's is I don't think there's another sport to where you can get as close to the idols or the
Hmm.
professionals,
Hmm.
and they're willing to spend that time. I have never seen, well, I can't say never because I have. There are people out there that are pro anglers and stuff that are
Right.
just that way to where they don't they don't communicate, don't talk to anybody, but that's
Right.
rare.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I would say 98% of the pro anglers and stuff like that, especially if they see a kid, they're dropping what they're doing and they're going to
Hmm.
spend 5 minutes with that kid. And I don't think there's any other sports that, I mean, and I'm a big baseball, hockey, college football, and stuff like that fan. And there's no other sport to where the viewers have as much access to professional anglers and stuff like that.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
I tell you, you're absolutely right. I think, you know, I've been, I can knock on wood and say I'm blessed to be able to have been invited and entered into circles where you never thought that, you'd end up, just
Right.
When God's doing stuff, He's doing it. You don't even
Mm-hmm.
have a, you don't have a say in it.
Mm-mm.
It's gonna happen. So, but
Just hold
I've
on
been
for the
blessed.
ride.
Oh yeah, I've been blessed. I mean, beyond measure. God has put me in rooms that I never thought I'd be in, but then put me around some of the most genuine hearts
Yeah.
in the game, and that I'm just like, this is amazing, and you really get a chance to see, you
Yeah.
know, you really, really, you know, I know this is my place. I belong in this sport, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
Right.
around the right people that really have have shown me why, and
Right.
I thank them all the time. And they, like I say, we just hanging out. It's just the same old guys, but deep in their heart and their core, they know, this is what they love. And when you get a bunch of a group of great guys around each other that love the same thing, love to be around the thing, and really about conservation and watching the sport grow and bringing the next generation up the right way. I think it's a lot to talk about, and I think our
Mm-hmm.
ambassadors and you know our generation that came before us, and we're able to carry that torch. And now, I was at the elementary school a couple of weeks ago talking to the, graduating fifth grade class. They're going to the sixth grade, and I was, you know, out there with my truck and boat and talking to them about career day, and giving them the opportunity you know, to be part of, getting them into the outdoors and let them know they can actually, they can become a professional bass thing, or they can just get outdoors and fish. And, all of them want to go fishing. So
Yep.
but we have to be able to do that. And I think our ambassadors understand that if we don't work on growing the sport, I think, especially with our younger generation,
Yeah.
we start to turn, they turn toward indoor technology really
I was
fast.
about to say
So
it's too easy for them to do
yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's
Yep.
So
too
we
easy.
gotta be,
Yep.
so
Yep.
we gotta be proactive, and and be able to get them into that space. So anytime I get an opportunity to go talk to the kids, I'm making that a priority to do so, because I know, just like many of the ambassadors that came before us, know that it's the next generation that's going to carry us,
Mhm.
Right.
forward. So
So
That's awesome.
we have had you on for over an hour.
really,
We got,
okay,
yeah. I tell you this. We tell people all the time. This is the fastest hour that you'll ever be on,
It
because we
truly is. It
just chit
truly
yeah,
chat,
is.
have fun, and again, there's nothing like the brotherhood, and I think
right,
what we really want the podcast to really show, like, it doesn't matter who you are or whatever. I mean, we go out there, we love fishing. We love talking about
right,
fishing. We love talking about baits, different techniques, and stuff like that. And for the most part, we kind of have a guideline of, I guess you say, how we kind of want the podcast to go.
hmm,
Mm-hmm.
And, but a lot of times, those guidelines are just letters and stuff written on a
right,
piece of paper, but because we just enjoy it, we let the conversation go where it wants. But we do have two questions
yep,
that um, that we want to ask before we let you go. The
okay,
first one is, if like, let's say there's kids out here that is wanting to take fishing to the next level. Let's say
okay.
they're high schoolers, or fishing collegiate and stuff like that. What is your advice for them to be able to make that next step, to be able to accomplish goals that they have as well?
Right. Well, that's a good question. I get that question quite a bit from, the up and coming anglers. They are trying to figure out how to, move to that next level. And probably my biggest advice would be, one, understanding relationships.
Yeah.
And I look at, when I'm dealing with, and I always encourage them to do the same thing. I look at it a 3-point system. You know, First, build a relationship
Yeah.
with, you know, and that's just being you. Pass the hello test.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Be that good person, and then once you establish a relationship, nurture that relationship. Every phone number I get, I try to make sure, if I'm going to take the time to put your phone number in my phone, I'm gonna make the time to call you at some point, or check in, text, or say something and say, "Hey, just checking in. How you
Yeah.
doing?" Do that. Do the little things.
Yeah.
Um, and always respond. Respond to your
Mm-hmm.
text message. Respond, respond, respond. I don't care if it's your email, text message, respond. Because believe it or not, people respond faster to you because you respond to them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
that's one thing. But the second part of that, I would say, once you establish a relationship, then work on a partnership. And that means, how can I help them be the best they can be? Because the
Yeah.
next phase of that, after you do that, becomes a sponsorship, and then they'll be helping you be the best you can be.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
relationship, partnership, sponsorship, in that order, I think will be the best way to do that. Now, I know a lot of kids. I'm shy. I don't want to talk. If then work on those things that can make you unshy. Watch. It don't make a difference. You can go stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself and say, "Hey, I need to have this conversation," because these conversations must happen. Because
I do
a
that a
lot of
lot.
time people ask me, they say, "Well, how do you get sponsored?" Well, one thing, a closed mouth ain't gonna get fed. You gotta
You got
ask.
that right. You got that right.
You gotta have the conversation, you
Yep.
Right.
know, and you'll be surprised how just asking starts everything off,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and
And it may not
then
happen right then either, though.
oh
But it
yeah,
may be something that that takes that manicuring and the time to be able
Mm-hmm.
to put
yep,
in to where whoever um, realizes, you know, Jay's legit. He's going to come, and if he says he's going to do something, that's what he's going to do.
right,
And I think like kind of on the sponsorship avenue of what you're saying,
hmm,
that these kids don't need to look at getting free stuff, because the
right,
companies are not looking for free or trying
right,
to give out free product. They're
hmm,
looking they're going to look at Jay, they're going to look at Pappy and myself, and then you, and they're going to be like, which one's going to be able to do what I need them to do to be able,
hmm,
because it's not what they can do for you, it's what you can do for them is what they're looking at.
oh yeah,
And so I think that's um, a lot, because that's one thing that we hear a lot is about the sponsorships and stuff
hmm,
is
Yep.
and which it's cool, it is great. I
right,
mean, because just as well as we do, you couldn't be going out doing what you got to do if it wasn't for those sponsors.
oh yeah,
And so, but you got to put in the work to be able to make those sponsors happy,
hmm,
and promote them properly. And
hmm,
so I definitely agree with. I'm actually going to write that. I'm going to go back. I'm going after the podcast. I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to put that on my wall somewhere, because I think that's not even just how I look at it. That's not
That's one
good
of them
advice.
nuggets.
Yeah, that's not
That's a
just good
nugget.
advice for young people. That's good advice
hmm,
for people life in general. It's
Yep.
not fishing,
right,
just fishing related.
Yep.
So,
right,
but we have one last question, brother,
hmm,
and Pappy, you want to take it away?
You know I do. Hey, Jay, man, we want to
hmm,
appreciate everything you've done, man. We really do. I appreciate your service to our
Yep.
country. I appreciate you just being an outstanding, outstanding man, and a great role model to the younger generation, and even to myself. I've learned a lot from you today, and I greatly appreciate it. But without all that being said, if you could go back and fish with one person, whether they here today or going on past, who would it be and why?
and this is so real, and like I say, 2 weeks ago I got to do it, and it was Bill Dance,
Oh wow!
and it was simply amazing.
Oh wow,
And
dude,
you
that just
know,
gave me coach heels.
yeah, no, I got to do it 2 weeks ago, and well,
Man,
just the week of the classic, I got to do it, and
right, right.
that I couldn't tell you enough, and it was just, you know, there was other bonuses there. I got to fish with
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Morris and Luke Bryan and Steve Harvey and Kevin Van Dam. I mean, just that was the biggest, you know, just pinnacle. That was it, And I'm going, man, God pinched me twice because here it is. I'm looking at Bill dance right here, and
Yep.
something
Well,
that I can't tell you how many years I stood at that stared at that Tennessee hat, going, man, one day I want to fish with him.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
and we've all been there, seeing
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
waking up. I can remember waking up Saturday mornings, and we would, when I lived in Nashville, we would go early Saturday mornings, go play basketball at church for a couple
Hmm.
hours, and then by the time we got back, we would, I'd turn the TV on, and then there was Bill. It was
Yep.
faithful, true. He was going to be
Yep.
there, and 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 when I that's if I could be in the boat with him, I don't even have to put a line in the water. I just wanted
No.
to just to be
I
it.
just want to sit there and listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Listen to the
That's it.
knowledge that that
Yeah.
but
man has.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. And every time that we're in a room with him, if it's at the classic or at ICAST or whatever, it man, it's you're you're in the presence of of a living legend,
Hmm.
Oh
and
yeah.
he loves talking about fishing, and he can
Yes,
tell
he
you
Oh yeah.
does.
stories, and I can I totally agree to. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have to wear my Vanderbilt hat with being on the boat, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely agree with you, brother.
Yeah. Well,
So
that definitely, that's interesting. You asked that question because I was able to live that out, and I'm
That is
just,
awesome.
like I say, so thankful for that, and um, so yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
heck yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So well, next week, guys, we have a recorded episode that we're going to do. We're not going to be going live because I accidentally had gotten tickets for the Chattanooga Lookouts' first home game of the season in their new
Heck yeah.
ballpark, and I thought it was on Wednesday. Then I'm looking at the dates. It's actually on Tuesday. So we're going to be doing a recorded episode. We have Bo Stevens with Icon Boats,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that we have coming on. And then after that, we've got the following week, we have another legend and from the Everglades. We got Neil Starks. So we're
Nice.
going to be talking about some peacock bass and then some Everglades stuff, and then let's. I guess while I'm at it, we might as well tell you what the rest of the month we got. Tucker Smith talking about a young hammer. This kid has tore up collegiate
Hmm.
anglers, and now he's fishing with the elites and made his first classic appearance. And talking about he's a hammer
Yeah.
in himself. So, but Jay, we want to thank you so much. Let's definitely keep in touch, and let's uh, let's try to get on to Lake X, and we'll
Yes.
kind of show you some fat girls over there. So,
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And Colin, I want to make sure I send a shout out to my man John Pate. He told me to show my jersey that I'm going to give him
oh
when I'm
There
out
yeah,
at
you go.
ICAST. So John, I told you I'd tell you. This is what I'm going to sign for you and give to you. So
Man.
it's coming to you soon. And also, guys, my new YouTube channel will be coming out soon, Striker Nation Outdoors. So get ready to see that coming. I appreciate it. It's kind of in its infancy stage, but we can't wait to get that going. So big shout out, man. Thanks for having me on the
Mm.
podcast. Anytime you guys want to have me back and live, I
yeah.
definitely want to get to Lake X
Oh
soon.
yeah.
We're gonna
Oh,
get
we
you because
going. Yeah, we
because
going.
because literally it is halfway in between
Hmm.
uh,
Well,
you and us,
well,
and
Yep.
so we we'll get out there and we'll go smash some big ones.
no,
So
let's do it.
um,
I'm all for
and
that. Hands
yeah,
down.
and we may see if we'll get fly the drones and then go do all that other fun stuff along with it and be able
Nice.
to make a good
Nice.
video out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And all we ask for is just don't wear us out too bad. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Look.
we don't mind getting beat. We don't mind getting
Look.
beat, but
Look.
now if we take you to a good place and you come over there and you just kind of put the lay down on us and just smack us around.
See, one thing I always got to make sure I understand is that when you invited somewhere, you know, show some courtesy. Don't.
You don't eat all the food.
No, you don't eat all
Right.
the food. You don't take it all home. No,
Yeah.
no. I will. I
No,
will give you guys plenty of opportunity to catch the first fish.
oh,
There
Show me
you
how to
go.
do
There
it.
you
that's
go.
right.
Y'all just show me how to do it,
There you
and
go.
So
we'll go from there. You
heck
know.
yeah,
Go.
brother. Man, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to you, brother. And
Yep.
we had somebody ask, where is LiTime located? Where are they at?
Lead time home base is actually in China, but they have 12 distributorships here in America and around the country, Germany, Australia, Europe. They have them all over the country. So, I mean, all over the world. So they are an international brand that really, focuses on putting the best product out there at the most affordable price. So, but they are based out of China and hopefully soon be coming, to a home base near us where we can even be that much better. So looking
Awesome.
Right,
forward to
right.
seeing what happens. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great
Heck
question.
yeah.
Thanks.
Jay, again, thank you so much, man. We thoroughly enjoyed it,
Yes, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
I can't wait to be able to share the boat with you either at Lake X or you come up to
Wherever.
Chickamauga or Nickajack or we head down towards your neck of the woods. But brother, man, thank you so much. And guys, I
Yep.
want you to remember God loves you as if you were the only person in this world to love. And we will see you next week, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.